Alright, so how many of you have played sports or are currently playing sports? If you have, then odds are you know or heard of someone or another athlete that's used performance-enhancing drugs to enhance their performance on the field. Imagine having to compete with someone that was using steroids when you weren't. There's hardly any competition. We need to gain stricter regulations over steroids in sports because these athletes are destroying their bodies and it's flat-out cheating. The purpose, sports organizations should put stricter regulations on performance-enhancing drugs to show that the use of steroids in professional sports is unfair. It's wrong to use performance-enhancing drugs in sports to get ahead of the game. I don't know about you, but the use of performance-enhancing drugs is extremely dangerous and can lead to very dangerous and long-term effects on the athletes using them. Here are some sites I use to gather my information. The problem I want to talk to you about today is that professional athletes are taking performance-enhancing drugs to intensify their skills and performances on the field. It's extremely dangerous and unfair to the other athletes. There are several solutions to this problem. One is to focus on tightening the restrictions of these drugs in sports to make it a more fair game and equal for playing. The problem is that there are many reasons why I think these drugs should be illegal to use by athletes, and I believe that there are a lot of users taking these drugs that may not be aware of the serious health effects that are being placed on your body when you're using them. At the moment, many athletes are taking these drugs and they're using them to bring their game to the next level, while the rest are busy working their tails off and playing the game the way it's supposed to be played. Here's a quote from ESPN. These sports current penalties are a 10-day suspension for the first offense, 30 days for a second offense, and 60 days for a third. The earliest player could be banned for life if there's a fifth offense. I believe that these consequences are not strict enough and need to be tightened up so less players use them. The use of these drugs to enhance performance in sports has certainly occurred since the time of the original Olympic Games, dating back to 776 BC. The origin of the word doping is attributed to the Dutch word dope or dupe, which is a vicious opium juice. This drug was used way back in the ancient times with the ancient Greeks. Fortunately, here's another quote from the Houston Drug Rehab source. The problem is being met with a revitalized sense of force as the DEA steps in to crack down harder on these use and sale of these steroids, and the global impact of trying to put a stop to the smuggling of steroids from other countries has actually involved a lot of entities. In the process of gathering information from the speech, I would like to include some of the symptoms of steroid using. There's mood swings, fatigue, restlessness, loss of appetite, insomnia, reduced sex drive cravings, and a lot of other things. This is a really serious drug. Everyone is affected by the illegal use of these drugs in sports, not just affecting the athletes who take them, but everyone else in the game who's playing the right way. It creates an unequal playing ground for the athletes that are loyal to the game. The use of anabolic steroids increases the athlete's chance of getting liver cancer. Heavy or prolonged use can cause psychological and emotional problems, so-called steroid rage or roid rage. Men will have testicular atrophy and libido problems, and women will have abnormal periods and change in their normal hormonal balance. Because steroids are enable heavy lifting, tendon tears and osteoporosis and are common ailments. I could tell you all about all the guys who do what their bodies. I could tell you about the guys who do what their bodies weren't designed to do, such as benching 400 pounds, and by the time they're 35, they can't lift their arms. So in the long run, these drugs really crack down on your body and really mess you up in the long run. Here's a quote from the SCU EDU resources on steroids in sports. The only thing that works to discourage doping are testing and penalties. You can talk about personal responsibility until you're blue in the face, but to stop steroid use, testing is necessary. Cocaine and steroids have ceased to be big problems in professional football because of testing, so they're starting to crack down on it a little more. If we don't care this problem, people will continue to be continue to be cheated and not have any respect for their capabilities while realizing that they labor in vain. At brainyquotes.com, I found a quote from Evander Holyfield. Well, when I think of steroids, I think of an image. You have the advantage over someone, which is a form of cheating. I guess it wouldn't be right unless it was illegal for everyone. Unless it was legal for everybody. The reasons it's not legal for everyone is because it can hurt people seriously. While the idea of athletes losing their desire to work is disturbing, there are solutions that there have been successfully implemented that help them stay away from the drugs. One way to mend the wrong is to put a bigger fine on athletes who abuse these drugs. As many of you may know, it guarantees that you can be a top-tier athlete, and it puts you at a higher advantage. The reason this is the right solution is that it sacrifices the need to take more drug tests and get better drug tests that will help limit and find the people using these drugs. If an athlete is in a game where no one else is on steroids, then it eliminates the need for the use of steroids in the first place. If we can find these athletes suing these drugs, then we can crack down on their existence in sports. We can start informing the athletes at every level so they'll know what the drugs do to their body in the long run and maybe be able to change their minds about abusing them. I would suggest for the owners of sports organizations to put stronger restrictions and greater consequences on these drugs to slow down the use of them in professional sports. Instead of a 10-day suspension, they should change it to an automatic hold for the entire rest of the season if they're caught. That way they'll think twice about taking them. Now I would like to imagine a world where all athletes are equal and must use hard work and their talents to make it to the top. That way, these games were designed to be played without rules and restrictions. There's hardly any competition. Conclusion, I hope you see the problem that steroids and other performance-enhancing drugs have done to the game. Rules and regulations need to become stricter and less passive, and being an athlete in the past and seeing these things firsthand led me to have a strong opinion and stance on this matter, and I hope that this speech has informed you and persuaded you to take a stand against the use of performance-enhancing drugs in sports. Any questions?
No.
All right, thank you.